Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Very happy to see you all. Well, I don't actually see you, but you see me. Very happy to be here, and this is the concluding session for today, and it's all about leadership. As you might remember, in our first position paper, the consortium of parties that were involved said that leadership was one of the key pillars in recognition and rewards. Now, what is that leadership? And how should we shape it in terms of recognition and rewards? That is something that is asked, I think, pretty often in our steering committee and also by people who contact us as a steering committee. We've got a number of very interesting people at this table who are all involved with leadership. So one of the things that we could ask today, and I think I'm going to ask that, is how has recognition and rewards shaped your leadership? And what do you think, perhaps as a second question, what do you think young people should show in terms of leadership? Perhaps, Marjan, I could start with you.
Well, I think recognition and reward is really a culture shift. It's a culture movement. And I've realized, partly because being a member of this steering committee, is that leading by example is very important here. So you should really live up to, practice as you preach.
Yeah.
And also stimulate other leaders in your organization to do the same thing. I've said it several occasions today, it's a chain, and if there is one person in that chain that is not leading by example, then all the people that look up to that person think, well, that's the standard.
Yeah.
So that I think for me, that's a very important element.
Leading the change.
Living by, practice what you preach, leading by example. Yes, and also, well, that's maybe not exactly related to the steering group, but more in general, there is not one way of leadership. There are many ways in which you can lead an organization, and we should be aware of that. We have a sort of implicit idea of what good leadership is, but by looking around, you see that there are many different styles that are successful.
Mm-hmm. And what is that implicit way of leading that you're talking about?
Well, I noticed it, for instance, in our evaluation committee, where people are, promoted to the next step. That everyone has this sort of view of, the general in front of the troops.
Right.
That's the leader. Follow me.
Yeah.
But there may be a leadership in which you're more inclusive and more inviting, where you are not the one saying, this is how I think it should be done, but where you invite other people to come with, how should we do it?
Yeah.
And I think many committees actually see that as weak leadership. They think, well, this person doesn't know what to do. That's not a real leader.
Yeah.
And if you're not really aware of that, of this implicit idea, then you may not promote a person that's, not so strong and is such a, person in the lead.
Yeah, because they're seen,
whereas it could be a very good leader.
They're seen as poor leaders because they don't march in front of the troops. Right. Yeah. Interesting. Rianne, how is that for you?
Well, I think leadership is really very difficult. And I think we are very much underestimating how difficult it is. You have a often large group of people that all have different needs also in how they would like to be addressed, whether you're having formal leadership or informal leadership. So first of all, you need to reflect on your personal leadership, which is not often done, I think, at university. So we just expect everyone to be a good leader, whereas you yourself don't even know what you think should be good leadership, and you also don't ask input from people around you, how they see you in your leadership role. And
self-reflection.
Self-reflection is important, and I think it's also important to give feedback on each other's behavior, which we do in academic writing very critically, and we know how to do that. But when we talk about behavior, we find it very difficult to give feedback, like you're actually crossing my borders, or what you're doing now, I actually don't find very helpful in my career path, or whatever topic. that we find so difficult. And that's where it starts, to have an open dialogue on leadership. And I hope that the recognition and reward movement also creates that, an open, safe environment to discuss leadership, the difficulties in being a good leader. Also, I say that many times, deselect if you're in a leadership position and you're actually not really fit for that job, but you're a good academic or a good teacher, but not a good leader. We should have those discussions much more.
You don't have to be the department chair.
No,
you
if you're not good in that, please do something else.
Yeah.
But we should also recognize that it takes time, and that it's not just something you do on top of all your other activities at a university, so that you can also develop in it.
Yeah. But it's also, we should probably also say that some people are excellent academics, and we tend to promote them to department chair or something like that, and you're saying we needn't do that.
Yeah.
It isn't necessary to do that. On the other hand, there are people who are perhaps good scientists, but are excellent in leadership qualities. They have a vision for the future or something like that, and we don't really recognize that at this point either, right? Because administration is also something of a bad word.
It's dirty.
It's dirty, yeah.
It's the abortive route. You shouldn't do
It's also
that.
power.
The dark side.
The dark side.
But it's also power. People also want to be in that position because it gives a certain power.
Right.
Power on budgets, power on promotions.
Yeah.
And as long as it's connected to power, people would still like to be in leadership positions, even though the administrative burden and the bureaucracy is not what they would like to see doing. But the power part is, of course, in academia, very much present.
Right.
And not always used to the benefit of the collective.
Yeah. Do you find it easy to combine your leadership? And then I'm going to the two guys at my right hand. Do you find it easy to combine your leadership and academic personae?
And for me personally?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not easy. It's absolutely not easy.
Why is that? Is that because the system isn't good, or?
Well, for me, it's now different in my role now. But when I was director of a research institute, I thought it was. I wish that I had more support in developing my leadership style.
Yeah.
So you learn on the job. That's not bad, but it would be nice to have had some more time also to invest in that.
Yeah.
And now, as a administrator, I try to put leadership much more to the core of what we do.
Yeah.
And developing also in Maastricht now a leadership academy where each and every one, and not only the formal leadership, because everyone is leading to some extent, whether you're a PhD in a group or a teacher, everyone has informal leadership roles.
Yeah.
So it should start already from the bottom, and not only I think you said the senior or the younger, everyone is in our ecosystem in those roles.
Yeah.
And what does that mean then? And can you develop that?
Yeah.
That I think is important.
There should
And
be a
that
path.
I can do in my new role. I can do much more than I could do when I was just working at a research institute.
Yeah. So, Peter, as president of the UNL, how is that for you? How can you show leadership to advance recognition and reward?
Now, first of all, I'm learning every day.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, what I'm learning is in the case of recognition and rewards is on the one hand is for example is listening and trying to grasp where the passion is, and then trying to give that a platform.
Yeah.
So that's actually what happened with recognition and rewards. We had there's a certain group of academic leaders, leaders of the universities, who have a passion for this movement.
Yeah.
And then my role is to sort of make it happen in the association, that all the universities join it, and that also other organizations join it. So that's the listening part. On the other hand, I'm personally very much result oriented, so that's my learning opportunity. And so what I'm learning is in this movement every day, and also by feedback, I get that, is giving space and learning and trying to inspire others.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also looking for results.
Yeah.
And maybe letting it go and see where the results come in, and that's sort of a balance you have to strike.
Interesting. So listening, letting go are also very crucial elements of leadership, you say?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think you should try to develop a vision,
Yeah.
sort of why and where, what do you want to achieve, and so I will never let go completely and say, okay, there's not going to be any result. At the end, I'm very much personally committed that this movement actually leads to something which is structural in the end. I do not want, and that's what we tell each other many times when we have the meetings with the regie group.
Yeah.
We do not want that we have this movement and then in 1, 2, 3 years time
With other
without
members.
results. It has to be structured. So once we are gone, actually there should really be a change.
Yeah.
And it should be in the DNA of the universities.
A cultural change,
Yeah.
as Marjan said, right?
Yeah, it's it's a slow process, though. I'm thinking of a figure of speech that someone else actually coined. You cannot cook a potato in a pressure cooker because then it's mush on the outside and it's a hard rock on the inside. It takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so what's been interesting is to find out how much time it will take. And actually, I think we still do not exactly have the answer.
Yeah.
So I remember when we wrote the first position paper in 2018, we set ourselves some targets. This is what we will achieve, and we said 2020.
Yeah. I remember, yeah.
We didn't make it.
No.
And there was actually, a sort of compromise between the slow and the fast.
Result-oriented.
You wanted to have 2019, and
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
yeah, that was ambitious.
But then we have COVID and
COVID.
exactly.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
of course.
No,
Frank,
yeah.
sorry, did you...
Yeah. No, but that's interesting between the letting go and actually being result oriented. So that's my learning in this journey.
In this journey, yeah. Frank, so for you as a rector, you must see a lot of stuff changing already in your university, in terms of recognition and rewards. What in your own leadership has advanced and has perhaps inhibited that development?
Well, I don't know. It's really about my own leadership. But I think what's happening in the university, at least the debate is happening. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Clearly, because of COVID, things have slowed down a little bit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we've been able to involve a lot of people in the discussion that we have, in the thinking. Because at the end of it, that's, I think, the cultural change. Because it has to get into the mind of people. It has to get into the attitude of people. So you can formalize lots of things and you can make nice documents, and obviously we try to do that. But that's only paper.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the change has to be with the people. And there I think it's really important that people take personal leadership at all levels. So it's not just with a dean or with a rector or with a department head or anything like that. It's really personal leadership that people demonstrate throughout the organization.
Yeah.
So I think leadership and leadership development in itself is a very important thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
Difficult, particularly in academia. And it's often neglected because there's so much focus on, say, the research, and hopefully now also significantly more in education. So there are quite a few people that are reluctant to develop leadership, personal leadership. But I think it's important for everyone. It starts as a student. You need to develop certain leadership skills as a PhD candidate and so forth.
Yeah.
At all levels, you need some sort of a leadership, personal leadership.
Yeah.
And that's, I also think we need a kind of a change in the kind of leadership that we need. Not the power leadership, as you just, I think one of you described that, but more the person that really has the ability to engage others.
Exactly.
And is dedicated to the growth of people. Rather than forcing all these things.
Connecting dots.
Connecting dots,
Yeah.
And that's a very important skill, and you do not automatically have it, but it's something that can be developed. Clearly, some people have it as a natural gift.
Yeah.
But it can be developed, I think.
I had a fantastic example when I was leaving my old department to get into my new role. There was a group of people led by Linda Dow, who was a young scientist, and they were all very much interested in open science. And she just took that up and gathered a lot of people around her, young people who were interested in the same questions, and they just made like a plan for the department. And I thought that was an excellent example of young leadership, right? So that's probably an example of how at different levels you can do that.
So I think it should be a little bit less about me and a lot more about we.
Yeah.
And you see a number of people, outstanding scientists, that really foster the growth of the people that they educate and train.
Right. Yes.
That's the kind of leadership I like to see within the university. Because ultimately, that I think is the way to advance science. So it should be less about where I am the star, but it's more are we collectively
less me,
achieving
more
something.
we. Interesting, right?
Yeah, that's the slogan.
Yeah,
That's
I like the slogan, if I may. But when I think about leadership, so many times when we speak about leadership, it is about something that you do with others.
Yeah.
But actually, there's also this definition or this concept of leadership where it is about personal leadership, about yourself, about following your passion. So that's where, for me, leadership is very much in the same box as following your passions and knowing what your why is, and then following it and taking initiatives. And it's also about entrepreneurship. So personal entrepreneurship, doing things. And many times it leads to initiatives with others, and then you get into the more collaborative leadership with others. But actually, everyone can be a leader, or should try to find out what your leadership is about.
Should everybody be a leader? Is that true?
Now, for your own life, and
Right.
So that's what I mean to say.
Yeah, in control of your.
It's not. It's so because many times we put it in the box, and not that you do it per se, because you're also talking about other initiatives with others. But many times we think, okay, this is for people who manage others and who are in departments. But actually, I think leadership is something of everyone, especially in a university or in an organization where you want room for talent and you want people to follow their passion and actually to become good at something that they really want to be good at and to have impact in the end.
Yeah.
Then there's something in this step forward, and that's about leadership.
So it's interesting. We're having a lot of elements already. So listening, letting go of processes sometimes, less me, more we, and you're adding now to that list by saying, how can we get that into one word? What is the word for this?
Yeah, I need to think about that.
Yeah,
that will help me, because it starts. No. That means I won't try it at this moment.
And also,
I have to think about it.
Yeah. And also, I think so. Being in control of your own life, connecting the dots. That's all part of the leadership that we're looking for, and also the fact that you can show that leadership in all sorts of levels.
But also not one size fits all.
But
As
not
Marianne
one
said, I will never want one type of leader. That will make it so boring. So you need to have a variety of styles, but you should reflect on it. What does my style mean to other people in the group that might require a different style?
Yeah.
And having that discussion will also lead to understanding.
Right.
Because you don't want everyone to be the same. I would find that not the way to go.
That's what Recognition and Rewards wants to counter.
Yeah. No, I fully recognize that. But what you also would like to see is that people take the lead. And so take initiative, and that's personal leadership, I think, and also people that take certain responsibilities. There's so many things that need to be done within the university. You would like to make a change in a certain direction, and someone has to lead that change,
right,
and get other people involved in making that change happen.
Yeah.
So it's not always this formal leadership that we recognize, like I said before, like a department head or a dean or a rector, if you like. There's so many other things and so many people that can show individual leadership by taking an initiative in a particular direction.
Yeah, we tend to think of leadership as, the sort of senior leadership. And I would like to give an example where I was struck by leadership of students. And this was at the start of the COVID pandemic. And overnight, a couple of students stood up and started a website for students that wanted to volunteer help in patient care, but also babysitting of people that were needed at the intensive care unit. And I thought it was a beautiful example of leadership.
Yeah.
And these were, people 20 years old.
Yeah.
But
Fantastic.
they saw what was needed, they stood up, they organized it,
Took responsibility.
and had a lot of impact.
Yeah.
Stand up.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So standing up, that might be
Yeah.
what you meant before, right? And that's also
And
what
but also standing up for yourself.
Yeah.
I really pick up on what you said.
right.
This is something that you should be maybe guided. Some people can do it naturally, but some people need to be a little bit supported or encouraged to do it. And it helps so much to reduce the work pressure, because once you're in control of what you want to do, where you find your passion, that takes away a lot of the pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
But
really
that's-
happy to hear that you have this leadership academy, because I think that's a very important thing to do. So I worked in industry for 10 years, and each year we had to go to one of these, whatever course it is. How often do we go to courses like this?
Not daily.
Annually?
Maybe
I
not
had
even.
one actually. When I entered the university, there was a leadership course. That's the one that I took. And that was it.
Yeah.
Nothing thereafter.
And
I became
as
dean and-
academics, we sometimes join them and don't find them useful, right?
Yeah.
That's true,
we always
too.
We know
criticize.
better.
Yeah, we
Now,
know
we
better.
started,
But-
we started with the 14 universities.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
We started the
Yeah.
leadership course.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, but do we have it throughout the organization?
No.
I don't think we have it. So at least we have leadership
No, you need it
programs.
for, yeah.
But
Yeah.
it stops at a particular point in time, and thereafter it's no longer being developed anymore.
I wanted to go to Kim for a brief moment to see if we have some questions from the audience too about leadership. Kim.
Yeah, I think the audience really likes this round table and likes to hear you say that we need to empower young leaders.
Yes.
But there's also a discussion going on in the chat on a phrase of leadership, if it's a correct phrase for what we are looking for. So togethership is called, and pro-social behavior, taking personal responsibility. So yeah, what do you think? Is it really leadership, or in all levels, or should we rephrase this term?
Because leadership is too forward and aggressive, or that's what we were talking about before, right? That it might be too
Like a managerial
Yeah,
role.
Yeah.
too much,
Too much
standing
money.
on the crate and telling this
And
is where we
yeah.
should go.
yes,
Yeah.
let's go. Yeah.
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 So when we're trying to formulate the domains that we have in the university, we now call it, but I'm not sure whether it's a good name either, contribution to the community.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly leadership. So finding the right word, I think that's exactly what
Yeah.
the question
Yeah.
is. What is the right word that
What
we're
is the right
looking
word?
for?
Yeah.
Because leadership, implicitly, I think, for many people, is associated with formal leadership. Being,
Yeah, we distinguish 3 layers. So you start with personal leadership, which is really about yourself, and to know yourself, which is difficult in itself, I think. Then there is interpersonal leadership,
Yeah.
and then there is more the organizational leadership. And then you get into the formal managerial
Right.
roles, where you also need to learn managerial tasks that you may never have learned, like budget control, things that are also part of that formal leadership role that you can have at
Yeah.
universities.
Yeah.
So we distinguish these 3 layers.
That might be helpful.
And for everyone, the personal leadership is important.
Yeah.
And interpersonal depends a little bit on the roles that you get in the university, and in the end, not in the end, but in your own development, it can also lead to formal leadership. That's
Kim-
the way that we've done it.
Kim, do we have time for a quickie? Let's do a quickie.
Now, Jeroen.
To what degree is a question from Perry Den Brok? To what degree is taking a step back on the ladder, such as moving out of leadership,
De-escalate.
also recognized as part of a career track? And to what
Very
degree
interesting.
is
Yeah.
continuous growth a realistic assumption?
No,
Yeah.
it's
I think it's
It's a very
spot
good
on,
question.
because
Yeah.
you sort of implicit idea that you always go one step up,
Yeah.
all the way to full professor. That's the goal everyone strives for. But we have too little appreciation for and encouragement for people to actually stay where they are because they're happy there.
Yeah.
And they are valuable and they can actually contribute a lot, let's say more horizontal in the organization, exporting their expertise and knowledge and skills to other departments. It's not. It's more the exception than the rule, unfortunately.
Final word to Frank, because
If
we
you look at
already have to.
if you look at the position paper, we also call it to make the career paths a bit more dynamic.
Yeah.
Someone can step up, take a specific role, for instance, on a way, to give an example.
Yeah.
And thereafter do something else. Now, you made the move to directorship, but it could also have been that you've taken that role for 4 years, being in position at Zonneweg, and thereafter you're basically back into what you were doing before.
Exactly.
So making it a bit more dynamic and also rewarding that, and also helping people to make that happen.
Yeah.
So someone steps up and is a department head for, say, 4 or 6 years,
Yeah.
and thereafter would like to focus again on research and education. Why not?
So it also has an element of at the right time, at the right place, showing leadership when you think you can add something.
Yeah, and I think if we could make that happen, it would also become a little more attractive for a lot of the young people to step up and take these positions. Because quite often now you see people are very hesitant in taking up these positions because that's going to damage my career and I'm no longer active in science and so forth. Which
I
is
think
to a large extent
we
true.
felt that way at least. We were fairly young when we took up leadership positions and have talked about this. Interesting. I would have liked to talk about this for another hour. And I think the audience would have liked that too, but we do need a drink at some point.
We get water all day.
Water,
Leadership.
water is not going to cut the deal anymore. So thank you so much, everybody here at the table for this wonderful conversation about leadership. An important subject. Thank you all at home for listening to us. And I would like to give a few more minutes to Kim, who is going to close the day.
Thank you very much, Jeroen. And I don't need, I think, minutes to close today, because you might need a drink as well as at home. Although I remember that some of you are not in the same time zone, so have a totally different idea of time than we have in this studio. But we're so glad that you attended this Recognition and Rewards Festival, all of you, everyone based in the Netherlands and from abroad. And we were very happy to read your comments in the chat and online with on socials with hashtag Recognition Rewards. And I'm really, really happy that we created this day where you were able to share your ideas and concerns, and also a lot of good practices. So we will collect all the links you've shared in the chat, and we will make a place where you can find all those references. Because what we want is we want to keep working together. I hope this day helped you connect with other people, connect with experts. And I think together we will bring this movement further. I would really like to thank all the speakers and all the moderators and all the co-hosts who created this day together as a team. And I'm really, really proud that we did this and that we created such an interesting program for you today. And some of you might immediately switch, or did already switch 3 minutes ago, to Paris virtually, because there is a big conference going on there as well on open science, and research assessment did just start as a main theme of that conference. And earlier this week, the Paris Call on Research Assessment was published. And that's certainly also one recommended read for you all working on recognition and rewards. Videos made today here on our Recognition and Rewards Festival will be shared with you via our website recognitionrewards.nl. And I think that's what I'd like to say as a final word on this day. And I thank you very, very much for your attendance, and I hope we will stay in contact and work together the next couple of years. Thank you very much.